Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Joe and Joe's podcast of everything.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody.
Snuggle on in, grab a blanket, grab
Get all
your
cuddly.
favorite person in the world, and don't let them go anywhere.
Today, we're talking about characters, character backstories, writing a good character. And the reason we wanted to talk about this is because we're currently going through this process. I think we mentioned last week, we ended our campaign a month ago, I think. And we're prepping for another one. And so everyone's in the process of writing new characters. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you, Josiah, because I'm DMing, so I'm not actually writing a character. I wanted to ask you some questions about how you kind of thought through your next character, how you maybe thought through your previous one, and then maybe the differences between, again, the last campaign was your first campaign, and this campaign is your second, but you have a lot more experience now than you did before when making your character. So I wanted to just ask you some questions and talk openly about characters, creating a character.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so for people that are new to D&D, characters are pretty important. Many people, for like one-shots and stuff, will go like the goofy approach. Many people will also take the goofy approach for long campaigns, which I don't think either of us recommend. And what we mean by that is like making a character named like Pancake, who's like a dwarf that just wants to eat pancakes all day. It's like you're probably going to get sick of something like that. But it can also be intimidating to think about trying to create a serious character for a bunch of different reasons. Number one, because it's just like you can get worried about what other people are going to think of how cool your character is. Number two, it takes a lot of brain power to actually think of something cool. And number three, you got to write like a backstory for it most of the time if you're trying to go serious enough. You don't have to write a backstory. It's not required, but it definitely adds a lot more depth to your characters. But Josiah, maybe talk a little bit about kind of actually, if you want to, like hint at the character maybe that you're going to be playing coming up, or kind of the ways that you've been thinking through, I don't know, your new character compared to your last one.
Right. I think I'll start with what I did for my first character in like the first campaign, because I want to be able to compare like this campaign's character back to that. So
yeah, and your first one was kind of a goof one to a degree.
Yeah, it was funny. So my first character, and I'd never played before, so
yeah.
All I did was kind of look for. I think I went for a class first. Like there's no like set order. You can make a character because like, oh, I want to try this class, and so that's the first thing you have figured out. Or you can come up with like a cool backstory first, and then that, as you think through that, then you come up with a class and a race that works with that. But I went with the class first because I thought monk sounded interesting. And then as I was building it, I was like, oh, this is like kung fu style monk. This isn't like
this isn't like sit in the hills monk.
Yeah. I actually thought it was gonna be I was gonna be like a staunch pacifist.
Really?
Yeah, that was like my initial thought. And then I was like, oh, it's kung fu monk. Never mind. It's cooler. So I had that figured out, and then I was scrolling through the races, and I was like, I think I went with just an elf, or like a wood elf or something, because I felt like I understood that easier than the other races for some reason. / it was maybe the first race that I read, and I was like, that sounds fine.
And I feel like a lot of people, when they first start playing D&D, all want to be elves. I don't know why, but they just think elves are cool.
Yeah,
they're like
I think
normal enough, but like hotter.
Yeah, like everyone in our campaign at that point, I think all decided to be elves.
Yeah, except for one other person who picked a Dragonborn who was also making a joke character.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
everyone
my
else picked wood elves except for one person
yeah,
who picked a dragonborn and one person picked a high elf. So,
yeah.
you know,
But I picked the wood elf first. It's my idea.
yeah.
um so yeah, I had like I was a monk, and then I decided, oh, I'll go with a name that like doesn't really make sense. Like it just sounds like a dumb name. So I just thought of Bronk. I'm like, that's one word, one syllable. He sounds like he'd be an idiot, so that's perfect.
An idiot
Like a
elf, a
monk named
moronic
like Bronk,
elf.
and he's like dumb. And then I was like, okay, I got to do a voice because I'm like a guy who likes funny voices. So, uh, I decided to kind of make him sound like I was kind of going for like Kevin from The Office almost. Like I was just like, my name's Bronk, like, and just say like dumb things and like act like slow, I guess.
Yeah. And then you were like, honk rhymes with Bronk. He's going to love
Yeah,
horns.
yeah, exactly. So I was just goofing around with him, and I was like,
So he
oh,
had
he's
this.
got.
Yeah, he had this.
Well,
His
no,
only arc, I guess, was that he liked horns.
no, it was because when I was setting up the character, like it
Oh,
goes
right. You
through
could
things like
pick.
you have to
Right.
pick equipment.
You
So one
could
of the things
pick
was
an
like pick an
instrument.
instrument that you're proficient in, and I'm like, why do I have an instrument? Horns are
Right.
funny. I'll be a horn guy.
Right.
So
Now I
that's how that
remember.
happened. Yeah. So I was just like, this half elk, half elf monk named Bronk, who was for some reason proficient with horns. So, every time like a magical horn item just came up in the campaign, like Bronk
Bronk was
just
all
diverted
for it.
his attention to just that. So it was kind of funny, and like we made it work with the rest of the characters' dynamics, but I definitely started out just kind of goofing off with the character at first as I was learning to play the game, and then as we continued through the story, I actually, you know, we were developing him into, a character with like some depth, and like maybe a few sessions in, I wrote like kind of a brief backstory that, Joe could play around with a lot.
Yeah.
Like it left a lot open for him, and he came up with like a pretty cool idea he was excited about.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought it was cool.
yeah,
Um, and I want to hit on that real quick too. When it comes to making backstories, um, or when it comes to making complex characters, a lot of people like feel like they have to have this big backstory and big story arc before the game starts.
right,
But I think one thing that's good to remember, especially if you start by creating like a goofy character and you start getting into the campaign and you're like, well, now I kind of wish I wasn't as like goofy as I was. Part of like a good story for a character can be just how they progress and how their current situation is changing, and the decisions they decide to make, in their circumstances, and it can turn a goofy character into uh, a lovable, like deep character, and that kind of happened with Bronk. And then we had a girl in our campaign who kind of took the same approach with she played a male half orc named Pepe, but he ended up being like one of everyone's favorite characters, I think, at the end, and he had a really cool story, like
yeah,
throughout the thing. But it's because as they were going, they realized, or you and she both realized that you kind of wanted to take it a little bit more seriously, or at least use your character a little bit more seriously.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, so I just wanted to say that real quick is like you don't have to necessarily start with the backstory. You can just see where the story kind of takes your character and how your character develops during the campaign, which they should anyways. But I'm just saying, like, you can create a story that maybe isn't necessarily how your past has affected you, but just what is currently happening and how that's going to change you, I guess. Does that make
right,
sense?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're gonna
Anyways,
you're gonna find that you have a lot more fun with like, developing your character if you involve your DM, because they
that
wanna
too,
they
yeah.
wanna be involved. This is collaborative storytelling.
Yeah, that
Everyone.
too. I wasn't even necessarily saying like you have to get the DM involved, but yeah, like I will say like the more you can give your DM at the beginning, but even throughout the campaign, the better,
Yeah,
because they'll be able to work with you to think of something cool, and
right.
any conflict can create arc, even if it's goofy conflict. Uh, And so like if you can give your DM just likes and dislikes of your character or different qualities that they have as a person, then your DM, if they're, good enough, should be able to work some sort of story elements into the game that could
Right.
involve even like the goofiest of characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, again, like I was saying, throughout just random experiences that'll happen in the game, your character will change based on how they interact or react to, different issues and conflicts in the game anyways. So yeah, your character will change, but the more you can give your DM, the better.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I played that character Bronk for some time, and then maybe I want to say about halfway through the campaign. That sounds about right.
I
We
don't think
encountered. It
was it
wasn't even
halfway?
halfway.
I don't think so.
It
I think
wasn't.
it
I
was
know
like
it wasn't
10 or
further than
12 sessions
2/3.
in. We played 37 sessions, which,
Okay.
if there
Yeah.
are veteran D&D players here, they're thinking two things. They're either thinking that's not very long for a campaign, or they're thinking that's crazy that you were able to get people to play 37 sessions and, not flake every week.
Right.
Um, but yeah, we played 37 sessions. I think it was session like 12 or
Yeah.
something.
It was.
It was pretty
I know
early,
it
actually.
wasn't. We weren't leveled that highly at that point.
No,
I
I don't think
think
you were. It was before Hunter came in, and Hunter came in
it was
at
right.
like
Yeah, it was right before he came
16.
in.
So I
Yeah.
think it was like 14, probably.
Yeah.
Something like
Maybe.
that.
Yeah.
Session 14,
So
anyways.
yeah. Well into the campaign, basically. We encountered a deck of many things, and this was not the first time we had encountered it. And it was not the first time that my character pulled a card.
Correct.
I think the first time we encountered it, pretty much everyone pulled a card, and then we had one person who got sent to the void because of that. Uh,
Yep.
Rip Lance.
Rest in
Uh,
peace. Actually, he's
yes.
not dead, but
Yeah.
he's out there.
Just yeah, remains to be found.
Well, you actually didn't pull the void, just for the nerds out there. They didn't pull the void. You pulled the card that says Don John on it. So there's two different ones.
I think I pulled Void.
No, you pulled the same as Micah. I
Really?
remember, yeah, I
Okay.
remember like just looking at it and not having to even look up what it was because I knew that it was the same as Micah's.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
Anyways.
both. Okay, yeah. So it wasn't Void, but we both. Or yeah. So he disappeared the first time we all pulled, and I actually pulled a great card that time. I think I pulled Fates. Was it? Because that was the one where you get to like say like
Yes.
something doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
And then of course I had to use that immediately
Yeah,
to save
literally the
Micah's
next
new
session.
character.
No, it was the same. No, you pulled Fates.
Before he disappeared.
Oh, it wasn't his new character. That was before he
No?
disappeared. That was
Okay.
Lance
Yeah.
to save Lance
Yeah.
and
Oh,
Flavia.
yeah, because I
our
was
friend
mad
Laura's
because I
character.
saved him and then he disappeared anyway.
Yeah, well, you also
And then
saved
left.
Laura.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
You saved Flavia. It was her
Yeah.
character's name. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah. So I pulled a card the first time we encountered the deck, and I was like, okay, that was fun. So then the next time we did it, I understood the risks of the deck, but at that point we had been to Avernus and we had to fight um like something I forget, but like some of us like fully died, like uh like lost all the saving throws or whatever, and we were like dead, and then we got like revivified.
Oh yeah,
But
you
I
fought Baylor in
Yeah,
Avernus, and
yeah,
then
and
uh
then Bronk decided like that he no longer feared death, and that's why the next time he saw a card, he just pulled it without
yeah, he
thinking.
didn't care.
Um, and of course the card that Bronk
Did he
pulled.
die in Avernus? Did Bronk die in Avernus?
Yeah, he was one of
He
the
did?
he was one of the characters that like fully
I think there
died
were
and
two of
got
them.
revivified. So when he
Gotcha.
came back, he was like, I don't fear death anymore.
Yeah.
So it was an in-character decision to pull the card again. I actually was considering not doing it because I knew it was risky, but I had literally just gotten done explaining that Bronk didn't fear death. So I was like, obviously he has to pull a card. So Yeah. Once he, disappeared though, I had another character on
Right.
D&D Beyond that was it wasn't he wasn't ready to go. I had used him for a one shot, and so he was built for a one shot. Like it was another kind of like goofy. His name was Thrandielmir, an obviously just made up BS name.
Good old
Uh,
Thrandy Elmir.
yeah,
Good
and
old
like I
Thrandy.
had designed that name to like sound like a fake name because I played him for a one shot. He was a rogue, and I was like, I'm gonna play him like a pirate. Like he just wants to loot every room, and he steals from the party. Like he pickpockets like his companions, and like yeah. So that's how I designed him. But then I had to quickly apply him to this campaign that I was in the middle of, and so I just quickly pulled him up and played him as he was for that session.
Yeah.
And because I played him as he was, um, and didn't like kind of adjust like some stuff to like fit better with the group, there was like the group was kind of hostile to
The
him at
group was like,
first.
"Who in the world is this guy?
And
And what
like
is he? What? Why have we
yeah,
replaced him with Bronk,
yeah. So I
a
yeah,
new
I
kind of idiot?"
I still played him like he was in the one shot that I designed him for instead of like, playing him for the current campaign. So it almost didn't work out with the group, and I would have almost
Yeah.
had to make a new character, but we found a way to turn it around. And then I basically had to go back and kind of deconstruct that character I had built, and then like level him up to where he was supposed to be for the campaign, and like uh you know write him a backstory in the middle of the campaign, and then we kind of went from there, and then we slowly developed it into something that had some depth to it, and I worked with Joe to kind of integrate his backstory into the campaign, and yeah, it ended up being a pretty good character. So
Yeah, I really liked Thran Mir. I think he was better than Bronk. It was kind of a bummer when Bronk disappeared because I
yeah,
did like eventually you did give me some backstory from Bronk, like a little bit.
right,
And I was able to write like what I thought was kind of a cool idea for a backstory. Or like a potential like not backstory, but like arc
right,
of going to like basically Bronk was gonna go find out why he loved horns so much, and it was gonna be because his like mom was blind and gave him a horn when he was little so that she could hear where he was, and like all this stuff. It was gonna be really cute, but you guys never did any of that.
yeah,
So I basically just ripped it up because you guys never went to the town. You never did any of it, but that's okay.
yeah.
Um, excuse me.
But yeah, that's kind of how I like developed my understanding for like constructing a good character. And so coming out of the campaign that we just finished, where I was Thrandy Olmir, I was ready to like fully develop a character with a good backstory, like at the beginning of a campaign, and have something like a little more solid set up. And I've gotten to talk with Joe about this character as well, and uh, like
Yeah,
come up with this arc that I'm really excited to see play out. That's the
yeah,
thing that I had like on my bucket list for this campaign, was like I want to have an arc that's kind of planned out, because I mean
yeah.
you can do that, and I think it's like not having the details, but like knowing how you want your character,
To
like
start
having
and
some
end.
outline of how you want your character to develop could be really cool. Like give him a
Yeah,
place to start
yeah,
and a place to grow from.
and when you say that, you don't necessarily have specific story
No, like
aspects at all. It's just
I don't
kind
have a
of
list of like this is going to happen in the
yeah.
campaign. It's
It's
more
just
like
overall like
this is the
characteristic
starting
changes
point, and like this is like where he is, like,
and
and
where I
I
want him to end
know
up.
where I kind of want him to end up.
Yeah.
Kind of like much like planning like a DM does for like planning a campaign, and
Hmm.
then you don't know what's going to happen, but you've got your starting point, you've got your end point, and you know
Well, and sometimes you start with a middle
foreseeably
point.
there will be some sort of arc. Yeah, and
I
sometimes you start
started
with the middle point.
I started for this campaign. Actually, for this campaign I started with an end point. Last campaign I started with kind of like a beginning and then was like, "Oh shoot, I don't know how in the world they're going to." I started with for the last campaign, basically the quickest story of the last campaign was Tasha was freed by someone from the abyss. That then she found her mother, the Baba Yaga's like ancient spell book that let her control the Kraken, and she summoned the Kraken in Salt Marsh, and then flew away and like did a bunch of other stuff, and then
Right.
eventually they had to fight the Kraken and Tasha and all this stuff. Blah, blah, blah. My original plan for the first campaign was just I was like, all right, like it'd be cool to have like the Circle of Eight as like my old characters and like my friends' old characters. Um, and I think it would be a cool moment to see Tasha floating over this ocean with the Kraken beneath her. But that was it. And then I was
Right.
like, I just got to figure it out. And for the new campaign, I started with the end. And I was like, this could be cool. And then actually, as of like 3 days ago or something, I finally put together like the timeline of events that I think will happen. Um, how I plan my campaigns. This is another podcast topic, but how I plan my campaigns is I plan what's basically going to happen everywhere, and whether you guys are there or not, it's still going to play out. Because I just feel like the world feels more alive when it's not just waiting for you to interact with it, but it's actually just continuing to evolve itself and move itself. As well as that makes your decisions much more important because depending
Right.
on, if you decide to do one thing and then do the
Yeah.
other and nothing, there's no consequence
Yeah.
to the
And like
order,
time exists.
right?
Yeah.
Then it doesn't really matter. So, um, but anyways, I just recently put together like a list of events that I want to happen, um, and we'll see how it plays out. But yeah,
Yeah.
I back real quick to Thranduilmir. I really liked Thranduilmir. I think, yeah, when you brought him in, it was like all of a sudden, and like
Right.
because you didn't realize you were gonna need him at all. But it
Right.
was nice. You did have like a little bit of an arc there. You were able to throw something together, but
Right.
it is nice, I think, for everyone, um, starting afresh again. Like you're saying, you were able to kind of go deeper into your backstory, and I've been working with everyone individually to write something that they really like that fits into the world we're building. And I think that's going to be really fun for you guys. And like, if you're a new player listening to this, you might start with like something super basic and simple, but you might learn really fast that you want to do something a little bit more complex and have like a cooler story arc, and that's
Right.
totally fine. That's great. That's what we hope for. But yeah, I'm excited for you to play like a deep backstory character because kind of the two that you played were both pretty light backstories that had to be thrown together pretty quickly. Um, but we've been taking like a month for this one.
Right.
So I think it'll be fun and it'll be cool to see you all the players like have this larger overarching story to their characters than the last one.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So that's awesome. So that's a little bit about backstories. Um and then when it comes to just, making characters, definitely have fun with it. Play something that you feel like you could play every week, and not get bored of. Uh don't necessarily pick an insane voice if you don't want to actually commit to it.
Yeah, that's
um,
I because I have a thing for like I like doing voices. So every uh like campaign slash one shot I've been involved in, like every time I have a character that I make, I usually end up going for some sort of voice, um, or like accent. And for Bronco it was a little easier to do, but Thranduilmir, sometimes like I tripped up because I was trying to do like a New Zealand like kind of like Korg
yeah,
from from Thor Ragnarok almost.
yeah,
And it kind of like uh devolved into like some weird mix of like that and like Australian British, like I don't even know what I was doing by the end of the campaign really. Um but it was fun. It added to his character, but you wanna make sure it's something you're gonna be able to like, you know, uh like it's not gonna be like a hindrance to like the role playing aspect if it's
Yeah.
something you're gonna. So I'm not gonna do like a tricky accent, I think, for this
Yeah.
campaign. Like I'll keep it simple, like some sort of pseudo British situation. That's what most people go
Pseudo
for is like,
British.
well, you know how most people like, they play their characters and they do like some like it's like a
It's
half
like
British
this,
accent
and it's
almost.
some of the words are a little bit,
Yeah, it's like
over
that.
the
It's like,
top, but
yeah,
not everything.
yeah, I'll do something that like not too extreme that'll probably sound
Dang, I
closer to
was
that.
really
Like we'll
hoping
see.
for like, I don't know, like a.
Like German.
Yeah.
Good German. Wait,
Well, what's his face? Caleb
dude.
from campaign 2 of Critical Role had a German accent.
Dude, a German accent for an artificer could be kind of funny though.
No, I was hoping like Minion from Despicable Me. That's what I wanted to see.
I would just
Anyway,
say nonsense the whole time.
yeah. Anyways, is there anything else you want to hit? We have a monster of the day, obviously,
Right.
and I have the graphic this time.
That's cool. Yeah, we could I was thinking like depending on well, I don't know how much time we have left.
We've been going for like 25 minutes.
Oh, okay. It depended on if you wanted to like keep it short or not, but like maybe we could do this another time too, like on the podcast, like building a character.
Oh, build a
Like,
character on
yeah, it
stream
could, yeah, like it could have been fun
or
to
on
do
the
for this
podcast.
episode, but like we could do it another time too.
I think we do it another time.
Yeah.
But what we could do is we could create a backstory real quick, like sentence by sentence. Like I'll say something and then you say yes, and we could like improv it.
Oh,
You know
okay.
what I'm talking about?
This has potential to be like really good or really not
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
And
yeah.
in that sense, it'll be good either way. So
Right,
let's go.
right. So, uh, he's from a small town. His name is Kyle.
Kyle? Oh,
Kyle.
no.
Kyle is he's a halfling. But he's missing his pinky finger on his right hand. Um, yeah, and you know why?
Yes, the reason he's missing his pinky of his right hand is because his father was a carpenter. And one day, uh, he snuck into his father's shop when his father wasn't there
Yep.
and was like, "Man, these machines are really cool." And then he uh he heard a noise in the shop, and
Yep.
so he started to run because that's what a little kid does when he gets startled.
Yeah, he ran away.
And he stubs his toe on one of the tables and trips and falls, and he breaks his pinky, and then they had to go to the doctor, and then they decided they had to amputate it.
Yes. Yes.
And you thought he was going to cut it off, didn't you?
No. Well, but here's the thing: is when he fell and tripped, he looked up and he saw that the thing that scared him was an abyssal chicken.
My God.
Do you know what an abyssal chicken is?
I think you showed me a picture of an abyssal
Probably.
chicken before.
Anyways,
Yeah.
an abyssal chicken was there, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, this abyssal chicken!" And then he went to the hospital or wherever you go in D&D terms, the amputator, and they cut his pinky off, and he was like, "I will get revenge on that abyssal chicken for scaring me and making me lose my pinky finger." And so he's on a mission to find that abyssal chicken, and he knows the specific abyssal chicken because of one peculiar thing about it.
He had an
which
extra
is-
finger.
That's right. The abyssal chicken had an extra talon on its hands or on its feet.
And he was like, "I'm going to take that talon and put it on my own hand." That's
Yep,
what he wants to
That's
do.
right. And he's gonna get a new pinky from that abyssal chicken.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's going to
And
have
that's
one chicken finger.
and
And that's how
Kyle.
chicken fingers become D&D canon.
D&D canon or abyssal chicken fingers. He opens a store eventually. Anyways, okay. Let's wrap up here with the character of the day or the monster of the day. Boom.
What you got?
There it is. It's called an Alhoon.
I can't see it. You might have to.
Well, you won't be able to see it unless you pull up my stream.
Oh.
It's on my
Do you
stream
want to just
though.
send it so I can?
Just
Am I
pull up
gonna
my
have to go?
stream.
I'll pull up your stream. Hold on. Give me.
You can look at it. This is a big one. This an Alhoon is a mind flayer that pursues arcane magic. Oh, wait, sorry. Let me back up. Mind flayers that pursue arcane magic are exiled as deviants, and for them, no everlasting communion with the Elder Brain is possible. So the Elder Brain, I don't know if you know, but an Elder Brain controls all Mind Flayers. And so if a Mind Flayer is trying to pursue arcane magic, the Elder Brain says, "Nah, I'm not working with you anymore," and moves on, I guess. So an Alhoon is kind of like a lich and a Mind Flayer combined. So it says the
Oh,
road to lichdom offers an alternate way to escape the permanency of death, but that path is long and fraught with barriers. Alhoons are Mind Flayers who have used a shortcut to obtain a lich-like state. Elder Brains forbid Mind Flayers from pursuing magic aside from psionics, but it isn't an interdiction. What is that? But it isn't an interdiction they must often enforce. Illithids brook no masters, but members of their own kind. So it isn't in their in their nature to bow to any god or otherworldly patron. However, wizardry remains a temptation. In the pages of spellbooks, in Illithid sees a system to require. This is a long one, so I'm just going to try and find. Lichdom offers salvation and the prospect of being able to pursue knowledge indefinitely. Yet learning the secret of achieving lichdom requires an arcane spellcaster to be at the apex of power, a significant challenge for Mind Flayers given the scarcity of available mentors and training. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. Alhoons are like Mind Flayer liches that were like outcast from...
yeah. Dude, this sounds so familiar to me. Like, I think, not to shout out another podcast, but I think they had one of these in like the first Critical Role campaign, I think.
Really?
Like in the earlier, because I'm listening through the first one. Um, and yeah, they had one of these like very early on.
To become an Alhoon, a Mind Flayer arcanist must cooperate in the creation of a periapt of mind trapping, which is a fist-sized container made of silver, emerald, and amethyst. The process requires at least 3 Mind Flayer arcanists and the sacrifice of an equal number of souls from living victims in a 3-day-long ritual. Holy Lord, that's long.
Wow.
3-day-long ritual of spellcasting and psionic communion. Upon its completion, free-willed undeath is conferred on the Mind Flayers, turning them into Alhoons. Initially, an Alhoon can be difficult to distinguish from a normal Mind Flayer. The obvious difference is the lack of a Mind Flayer's ever-present mucus coating. So they're like drier, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, but that's kind of cool.
Dude,
So
Mind
that's what an
Flayers in
Alhoon
general
is.
just look so cool.
Yeah, you guys met a Mind Flayer, a good
Yeah.
Mind Flayer. His name was Gideos. He was a pirate in Avernus.
Oh.
But you guys didn't really ever pursue anything with him. You didn't really talk to him at all. But he was a Mind Flayer that if you guys agreed, he would have like taken you to like rob some towns and stuff.
Dude, we could have been hell pirates.
Yep.
That'd have been sick.
Yeah. But oh well. All right. Anyways, anything you want to say before we go? We've been going for like 35 minutes.
No.
Cool.
I think we're good to go,
Well,
man.
if you're listening to this, episode 1 is out as well. So check that out. That's on a little bit about Session 0 as well as just what to expect from this podcast. Make sure to subscribe if you're listening on Apple or Spotify or Google Play. And if you're on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, Please subscribe as
And
well.
I guess if you're listening to this at this time, we'll also be on like Instagram, maybe, and
Yeah. Check the links
some other
below.
place. We'll have links.
Yeah, we'll have links in the description of this episode. And then we also stream this live on my Twitch channel, but who knows? Maybe we'll start a new Twitch channel. Might
That
be
could
a
be
good
cool.
idea.
Yeah.
We could start a new Twitch channel and start streaming it there. More info to come on that. Anyways, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. Peace.